The rain fell hard that evening, the kind that makes the world blur behind streaked windows, the kind that forces people to run for shelter, clutching their jackets tightly against their bodies. Somewhere in the chaos of that storm, a young man named Daniel sat nervously in his aging car, gripping the steering wheel with damp palms. He glanced at the dashboard clock again, heart racing, because tonight wasn't just another night. Tonight was the first date with Lily, the girl he had admired quietly from afar, the one whose smile had carried him through more dark days than she would ever know. But here was the problem: Daniel had no money. He worked 2 part-time jobs, one stacking shelves overnight and another washing cars in the day, just to keep his family afloat after his father's health collapsed. He didn't own nice clothes, he couldn't afford a fancy restaurant, and he didn't have the kind of charm that could mask the truth of his life. All he had tonight was his nervous heart and a quiet plan: a small, run-down diner on the corner of 5th Street. A place where the neon signs flickered, the chairs squeaked, and the waitresses wore tired smiles. He knew it was cheap. He knew it wasn't impressive. But it was all he could give. And as he waited outside the diner, watching raindrops slide down the windshield, he wondered if this choice would cost him everything before it even began. Backhand index pointing right: if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the beauty of love that looks past appearances, please take a moment to like this video, share it with others, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to our channel Kindness. Your support helps us continue spreading stories that remind us all of the goodness that still exists in this world. Daniel saw her then. Lily, walking carefully under a small umbrella, her soft hair dampened by the storm, her face lit by a smile despite the weather. She was radiant in a way that seemed unfair, too good for him, too perfect for this crumbling diner. Yet she waved when she saw him, her eyes full of warmth that made his heart skip. He stepped out quickly, offering his jacket as the rain pressed harder, and together they ran into the safety of the diner's yellow light. Inside, the diner smelled of coffee, fried eggs, and grease. The cracked vinyl booths squeaked as they sat down. Daniel apologized quietly for the choice, stumbling over his words, ashamed that he couldn't give her more. He expected disappointment, maybe even irritation, but instead, Lily looked around and smiled. She said it felt cozy, that it reminded her of simpler times when her father used to bring her here after school. She said she liked it. And for the first time that night, Daniel breathed easier. They ordered the cheapest meals, burgers, fries, and coffee, and as the rain beat rhythmically on the diner windows, they began to talk. At first, it was small things, favorite colors, childhood memories, embarrassing moments. But slowly, the walls came down. Daniel spoke of his family's struggles, of working 2 jobs, of the fear of never being enough. Lily listened intently, her eyes never wavering, as if every word mattered. Then she shared her own story, how she had lost her mother young, how she had learned to smile even when it hurt, how she too carried silent burdens behind the brightness of her laughter. Something shifted that night. What Daniel thought would be his greatest weakness, his inability to give her glamour or luxury, became the very thing that drew them closer. They found comfort in each other's honesty. They laughed until their stomachs hurt. They spoke until the diner grew quiet and the waitress refilled their coffees with sleepy kindness. By the time the rain stopped outside, something had changed forever between them. But life is never simple. Weeks turned into months, and though their bond deepened, the weight of Daniel's struggles grew heavier. His father's condition worsened, bills piled up, and he often arrived late to see Lily, exhausted and worn down. Sometimes he wondered if she would eventually grow tired of waiting for someone who could never offer her the life she deserved. Yet Lily stayed. She stayed when he had nothing, when his shoes wore thin, when he forgot their plans because of an extra shift at work. She stayed, reminding him gently that love was not measured in money but in presence, effort, and sincerity. Still, Daniel doubted himself. One night, after a particularly grueling week, he broke down. He told Lily she should leave him, find someone better, someone who could take her to nice places and buy her flowers without checking his wallet twice. He said she deserved a man who wasn't constantly drowning in responsibility. He expected her to agree, to walk away, but instead, Lily took his hands in hers and whispered that the first night at the diner had shown her everything she needed to know about him. She didn't care about the price of dinners or the shine of gifts. What mattered was his heart, the way he made her feel seen and safe, the way he loved without pretending. That was the night Daniel realized something profound. The cheap diner, the burgers, the flickering lights, those things didn't matter. What mattered was that Lily had seen him at his lowest and stayed anyway. Years passed. Daniel kept fighting, kept working, and eventually, things changed. His father's health stabilized, he managed to finish his studies part-time, and a better job came his way. Slowly, the heavy burdens began to lift. And through every storm, Lily was there, steady, unshaken, the quiet strength beside him. One evening, many years after that first date, Daniel took Lily back to that very same diner. It hadn't changed much, the paint was still peeling, the neon lights still buzzed, and the booths still squeaked. But this time, Daniel had something different planned. As they sat in the same booth where they had once shared fries and laughter, he pulled out a small velvet box. With trembling hands, he opened it, revealing a modest but beautiful ring. His voice cracked as he told her that he wanted a lifetime of cheap diners and rainy nights, a lifetime of struggles and victories, but only with her by his side. Tears welled in Lily's eyes as she said yes, and the diner's tired waitress clapped quietly in the background, smiling at a love story that had started and bloomed right there under the buzzing neon glow. Their life wasn't perfect. It never was. There were bills, worries, and the endless responsibilities of adulthood. But through it all, the memory of that first cheap diner date became a symbol of what truly mattered. Love built not on wealth or appearances but on patience, kindness, and the courage to be vulnerable. And every year on the anniversary of their first date, they returned to that same diner, ordering burgers and coffee, laughing like they were young again. It was never about the place. It was always about the love that grew there. Backhand index pointing right. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of the power of love, kindness, and loyalty, please don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends and family, comment your feelings, and subscribe to Kindness. Together, let's spread hope and love in a world that needs it more than ever. Speech balloon. Before we end, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. Would you choose love in a cheap diner over luxury without heart? Share your thoughts, we read every single one. And so, their story reminds us all, sometimes the most ordinary places hold the most extraordinary beginnings. Sometimes, love shines brightest not under chandeliers, but under flickering neon lights.